Monday, and I got a lot chopped up for you guys to discuss today. Things are gonna get spicy, but most of it will surround the conversation about a recent post by the NFL on their Twitter, or actually their IG account. Probably did it on Twitter as well. In any event, NFL offensive under 25 players. They made a list of the best of the best. We'll discuss that today. You agree or disagree? We're going to talk about all those things because I think there are some guys that you could debate on that list. Should get pretty fun. Let's jump into it. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the 175th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me on the program today. It's Monday, June the 28th. We are getting ever so close to July. And once we get to July, things start to get really interesting. That smell of grass starts to come back. All of a sudden, you start hearing those sounds of pads popping. All of those things start to come into very close view. Starts to hit the senses a little bit. We're not there yet. But we're getting close. It's my favorite month, obviously, because July is the best month. Maybe because I'm born in that month, but who's keeping count, right? So anyway, I digress. I want to start the show with a non sequitur real quick. Has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today, but it's my guy, so I want to start the show with my guy. So, you know I'm a Scottie Pippen guy. I've told you guys this before. If you don't know, I am a massive Scottie Pippen fan. That was my guy growing up. That's why I was a massive Chicago Bulls fan as a kid, because I loved Scottie Pippen's game. That said, Scottie Pippen has been making the social media rounds of late. He is actually going to have a book that I am dying to read. And I think that's part of why he's being a little bit spicy right now. I mean, he's being real frosty. You know, Scottie is unloading on any and everybody. And he's like, look, you guys asked me the question. I'm just responding. I didn't come up here and I didn't volunteer this information. You asked me questions. I'm just answering them truthfully. That's all I know how to do. I said, I hear you, Scottie, but, you know, you got a new spirit coming out. You know, you got a new book coming out. It's kind of a little bit, I don't know if I want to say, feels like it's a little bit pre-planned. Like, hey, I'm about to cause some shit. I'm about to, you know, light a couple fires and see if it, you know, brings a little bit more attention to my brand. But at the end of the day, he's doing a hell of a job, because last week he created a lot of attention when he criticized Ben Simmons. Look, that's not hard to do right now. And I've heard, like most of you have, that Ben Simmons simply isn't putting in the work. Having been in the league as long as he has, what are we talking about? 2016? Ben Simmons was the first pick in the 2016 NBA draft, right? We're now having the same discussion in 2021 that we were in 2016 about Ben Simmons. The fact that the man can't shoot. All that says to me, and it speaks volumes, he's not putting in the work. There have been countless guys that came into the league and we said, hey, he needs to work on his jumper. And 2-3 years later, the guy has a jump shot. I'm not saying you got to be a sharpshooter and deadly, a sniper. I'm just saying you got to be able to at least shoot the basketball. Tony Parker did not come in the NBA with that mid-range jumper that he ultimately was, that ultimately became his signature. That wasn't Tony Parker's game. He couldn't shoot threes. By the end of his career, Tony Parker, not necessarily a reliable three-point shooter, but you didn't want to leave him wide open in the corner. He didn't come in the league with that. He worked and developed that and folded that into his game. Ben Simmons isn't putting in the work. So it's not hard to criticize Ben Simmons. He criticized Doc Rivers for putting him in a position to fail, saying, hey, take his ass out of the game. I would have done the same thing. Yeah, he's one of your best players. He can't shoot. He can't make free throws. So Scottie was saying that. I didn't disagree with that. I disagree with his comments on Kevin Durant, though. He was hypercritical of Durant, saying he's not LeBron. Well, duh. There aren't any other guys walking around this planet named LeBron, okay? LeBron is one of one. There's no one like him, none before, none to come after, more likely than not. He's a one-of-a-kind physical specimen, the likes of which we've never seen and probably won't see again, okay? That's a rare type of DNA that he has. 6'8", 260, runs like he's 190, strong like he's 300. Everything in one package, the high basketball IQ, the ability to handle it, the ability to shoot, everything. He's got it all in one package. There aren't any other guys like that. So to compare Kevin Durant or anybody to LeBron, I think it's unfair. Kevin Durant is his own, physical specimen and somewhat unicorn because of his size and his ability to shoot and ability to handle the rock. But in any event, they're two different players. Kevin Durant isn't a facilitator. You're not going to see Kevin Durant with a bunch of triple doubles because he's not a guy that is going to get everyone else involved. He can get other people's shots, and sometimes he does. But he is a scorer, one of the most prolific we've ever seen. So they're not one and the same. So when he fails, I don't feel like he ever, and it's funny, my fiance is like, I want to see Kevin win because I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. And I'm like, I think most people acknowledge if he's not the best player in the league right now, he's second, no worse than third. But when you hear things like what Scottie said, you're like, well, maybe people aren't giving him his just due. He literally was dragging that Nets team along after Kyrie got injured and James Harden. Harden was awful. I get it, he was dealing with an injury. He was awful in Game 7. It was all Kevin Durant, and he said Durant essentially kept shooting the basketball and wasn't getting other players involved. He couldn't get anybody else involved. Nobody else. Joe Harris was over. He couldn't make anything. Joe Harris was terrible. He had a wide open shot in overtime that they needed him to make, and he missed. Joe Harris was so reliable during the regular season, and really in that first series against Boston, and he pretty much went to sleep in that second series versus the Bucks. So I said all of that to say this. I don't blame Kevin Durant for going and getting his. He had to. There was nobody else going to do anything. And then, I've heard a lot of criticism of the head coach, Steve Nash. Look, first-time head coach. It is what it is. I don't have a lot to say on that, because to me, the players run the league in the NBA anyway. The harder you coach them, the more likely it is you're going to be out of a job. But that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is, he had those comments. KD clapped back. It was a little bit of a verbal spat on socials. I thought that one went a little bit too far. You know how KD is. He's a little sensitive, but I didn't have a problem with anything KD said. I didn't have a problem with anything that Scottie said. I didn't necessarily agree with everything Scottie said, but I didn't have a problem with what he said. He wasn't out of bounds. I thought KD was a little bit, going below the belt, but I didn't have a problem with what he said either. He felt attacked, so he attacked back. That said, that was last week. Here's Scottie with some more drama this week. So now Scottie's on Dan Patrick's show, and he's talking about how Phil Jackson is a racist. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What are we doing right now, Scottie? He's like, yeah, so he goes all the way back to 94 where, Phil doesn't give him the last shot versus the Knicks. Tony Kukoc it has the play drawn up for him, and he's like, he told me to take the ball out. Like, what am I? I mean, I've sat here, I've been through all the battles with you and MJ all these years. This is my first opportunity to be the guy, and you're going to tell me to take the damn ball out? Felt like there were some racial overtones there, essentially, is what Scottie said. And so Dan Patrick says, well, you said you thought race played a factor in it, and there were some racial overtones there. You were essentially calling Phil Jackson a racist? He said, if that's what you want to call it, he said, I don't have a problem with that statement. So he's like, yeah, essentially he's a racist. And then he went on to talk about what Phil Jackson did to Kobe Bryant in that 2003-2004 season where he walked away from the game coaching the Lakers. Remember, Kobe had a lot going on there for a little stretch there. And Phil essentially aired him out in a book. Then he came back and coached them. And so he felt like, Phil kind of broke a couple of those unwritten codes and laws in an NBA locker room or just a locker room in general. You don't speak about the things that go on in our house. All of that is our house. We keep it inside our house. And so he felt like, Phil violated that and then took advantage of Kobe Bryant. I was like, whew, things are getting spicy. I mean, I love Phil Jackson. I don't know him personally. I think Scottie is still hurt by the image that is portrayed. And then he talked about Michael Jordan. And he went from Phil to Mike. Like, everybody loves, and I've always felt this. And I told you, there's a little bit of underlying animosity for me with Michael Jordan too, because I think MJ didn't want Scottie to win without him. I told you that he called Ron Harper, Game 7, Blazers, Lakers, wished Ron Harper good luck, did not wish Scottie Pippen good luck. That was intentionally done because in Michael's mind, Scottie can't win without me. I couldn't win without him. He can't win without me. If he wins without me, somehow, I don't know why, he would think this year the greatest player to ever lace him up. But in his warped mind, and we know how Mike does, he feels like his legacy will be somewhat diminished if Scottie finds a way to win without him. So he didn't want Scottie to win. So for me, there's a little bit of that animosity bubbling under the surface for me. That doesn't have anything to do with Scottie, but I could always tell Scottie felt some type of way. Not necessarily like I was always in the shadow of Michael Jordan. He understood that Mike was the greatest of all time, and he had to ride that train, and he did. And Mike couldn't win without him, and he understood that. His role on those Bulls teams and what he was in the league when he played, he understood what he was as one of the greatest 50 players in NBA history when they did that list, I think in, what was it, like 2010 or something like that. Whatever it was, he was on that list of greatest players, 50 greatest players in NBA history. And he knows what he is in this league, but I do feel like there's a little bit of animosity and, because Mike gets all this praise. And I think what sent it over the top was when Mike did the Last Dance and then they did the Scottie Pippen piece. So I think it was episode number 3. And of course, they did the big 1994, Scottie deciding to sit out of the last play of the game versus the Knicks. It's a part of history. Everybody knows about it. You can't run from it. I think that he also was a little bitter about how he was portrayed in the game against the Pistons in 1990 when they were eliminated and he had the headache and he couldn't play. He played, but he tried to tough it out, but he was awful in that game. They ended up losing to the Pistons. I think there's a little bit of everybody kind of feeling like he was soft. And, obviously against the Jazz, he had the back in that 6th and final clinching game against the Jazz in 97-98. So again, every time it seemed like the moment was big, something was wrong with Scottie. And so it kind of portrayed him as not necessarily being soft, but, if you wanted to take that, those things that draw your own inference, it looked like he was soft. I didn't necessarily feel that way. Obviously, I'm biased, but still. So I think he took umbrage to all of that stuff. And now he's unloading on MJ's like, all that shit he was doing in the huddle, all that shit was scripted. Mike knew the cameras were rolling. He knew he was setting up this documentary for down the road. He knew those guys were filming in the huddle. That's why he turned to Steve Kerr and he told him, be ready. The ball comes to you, be ready. Like, he knew all of that shit. That shit was rehearsed. That was scripted. Now, he couldn't have, known Steve Kerr was going to be ready and make the shot. But if everything goes well, he's got that built in. If it doesn't, he's got that built in. So I said, Scottie, bro, easy. He's like, nah, I've been holding this shit in for far too long. I'm unloading on anybody. And if you want some smoke, you can get some. Okay. All right. Anyway, I digress. I had to go off on that tangent. I know you guys are like, okay, why are we talking NBA? I got to do it. Sorry. So, all right, let's get to the proceedings this evening, shall we? Think we shall. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind and let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T-double-E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So, I know y'all see this hat that I'm rocking. This is a Louie T exclusive. Because the hats that are up on the site don't have red outline. Obviously, red is my favorite color. So, I had to get the Mob Squad in red. But, on the site, it'll be outlined in burgundy. Anyhow, if you are out there and you're a part of the Mob Squad, go ahead, put those orders in for the pre-orders of the Mob Squad. We got shirts, we got hats, we got them in different colors, different styles. So make sure that you get yours before they're gone. Put those pre-orders in and get your Mob Squad. Hashtag Mob Squad, stand up. We in the building, always in the building. Let everybody know you in the building by getting your Mob Squad merch. That said, I want to talk about some quarterbacks real quick. And I left this topic alone because I wanted the internet sleuths to go and uncover the truth before I started to talk about it, because I had my own conclusions drawn and I ultimately was wrong. I think I was wrong, at least. So I wanted to let the dust settle, smoke clear. I wanted the internet detectives to go do what they do best, which is uncover the truth that probably shouldn't be uncovered. It should just be left alone. But that's not what the internet is for. The internet is for drama, okay? The internet is for shadiness. The internet is for all the people that have nothing better to do than to sit and nitpick and pull away. It's a piece of string. It's one piece of yarn that's sticking out. The internet is for pulling that string and seeing where it goes. All right, how long is this thing gonna go? All right. So Tom Brady was on The Shop uninterrupted on HBO. It's a show, LeBron James, Maverick Carter, that's their show. They have all these athletes up there. It's uncut, it's unfiltered. They come up there and they just let loose. And that's what in the premise is, that's what happens at a barbershop. If you've ever been to a barbershop, then you know. That's what happens. You go in. A lot of times the barbershop conversation is the absolute worst in terms of facts. All right, nothing but opinions at a barbershop. And 95% of those opinions are dead ass wrong with bad information attached to it. So you got to be careful. All right, but they're fun nonetheless. That said, the show is based essentially loosely off of that environment. So they're in the shop, they're talking, and so Brady was on the latest episode of The Shop. And you guys have heard this already because this happened. I think this excerpt came out about a week and a half ago or so, where Brady pretty much said, you know, you're sticking with that mother effer? You're like, Brady had it, narrowed down to like 4 or 5 teams at the end of the process when he was deciding where he was going to try to play next. And one of the teams dropped out towards the end of his process. And he claims he wasn't going to choose that team, and he probably wasn't. But it's easy to say that in hindsight. They didn't choose you, so obviously you weren't going to choose them. However, the team dropped out of the Brady sweepstakes late in the process, and his response to them, dropping out of the sweepstakes was, "You're gonna stick with that mother effer? Like, really? You're not gonna take me instead?" There were a number of teams that were in the Brady sweepstakes at the time that he said that team dropped out. So I was thinking 49ers, Bears, Raiders. I think there was one more team in there, but those were the 3 that I was really looking at. 49ers, Bears, and I guess, I don't think the Titans were really involved. 49ers, Bears, and the Raiders. And in my mind, I'm thinking it's the 49ers. That's his hometown team. I thought that's where he wanted to play. And I said there's no love lost between Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think he really cared too much for Jimmy Garoppolo when he was in New England. Brady was the big reason why he got traded. Brady didn't want him there anymore. Didn't want to look over his shoulder. And so Brady went to Kraft. Kraft told Belichick, get him out of here. Brady's here. He's not going anywhere. I know you want to keep Garoppolo. I want Brady because I know he's going to win. Get rid of Garoppolo. So I didn't think there was any love lost there. And I thought he was saying, not only am I'm going to make sure he didn't get the job in New England, I'm going to come to San Francisco. I'm going to take his job over there too. So I'm thinking to myself, he's talking about Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. But I said, I want to let the dust settle and the smoke clear because I'm not sure about this. Not really sure. There are other teams out there, and I'm like, Brady being a 6th round draft pick, I told you, I come at every situation with a psychology background. Okay, so in my mind, I'm trying to think of the psychological aspects of every situation and how Brady would be thinking about it and how he would approach it. I could be wrong, but that's just the way I approach things. So in my mind, I'm saying, I don't think it's the Bears. Everybody thought it was the Bears. Mitchell Trubisky stinks. There's no way that they're going to pass up an opportunity to get Brady when Mitchell Trubisky is your quarterback. He stinks. In my mind, though, I felt like Brady was looking at Trubisky and saying, I know what it's like to be, a young quarterback in this league trying to figure it out. Now, Brady can't relate to being the number 2 overall pick in the draft, which Mr. Trubisky was, but he can relate to being a young quarterback and trying to figure it out. Now, again, Brady didn't have to wait very long to figure it out in New England. However, in his rookie season, he comes in for an injured Drew Bledsoe, and the rest of the story is history. But I don't think he was looking to step on Mitchell Trubisky's toes. I don't think he would say that about a young quarterback in the league. I think he would disrespect a veteran before he does a young guy, because you just don't know what that young guy is going to turn into, even though a lot of people already felt like they knew what Mitchell Trubisky was. And maybe Brady already said this guy stinks to himself, but he didn't say it out loud. I didn't think it was the Bears. Everybody else did. Some of that may be my Mitchell Trubisky, Trubisky apologist nature in me saying, nah, that ain't about Mitch. I always thought it was about Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. And I've given you the reasons why. Well, the internet detectives and sleuths out there that this is what they do, they got on their horse, and you had all these different outlets like Pro Football Talk doing some snooping around, talking to people close to the situation and trying to figure out who exactly. Like, at the end of the day, just let the shit be. Let us speculate. Let us guess. Nope, can't do that. That's not how things work these days, okay? If this were done 10 years ago, we wouldn't actually know who he was talking about. We would just be left to speculate. And sometimes that's the best outcome for a situation. It's just leave it alone, let it breathe, and just let everybody just speculate. Let them draw their own conclusions. That's not how things work anymore. We gotta know. We gotta know. And that's what the internet detectives, and they're undefeated. The internet detectives always get their man, okay? When you get something on socials, and whether it's a cryptic tweet or a cryptic post, trust me, the internet detectives are on the case and they're gonna figure out what the hell is going on. No different here. Turns out that Brady was talking about, and again, can't confirm nor deny this, but it's pretty damn close to factual that Brady was talking about the Raiders and specifically Derek Carr. Now, I've said this for a very long time with Derek Carr. I don't know what it is about Derek Carr, but everybody loves to shit on Derek Carr. Everybody takes their turn taking a nice dooski on Derek Carr. And it's just every single year, I don't know of a quarterback that has done less to offend people, but yet has gotten more offensive pushback than Derek Carr, because every year Derek Carr has to defend his job with the Raiders. Every year, every publication is trying to trade a new quarterback to the Raiders or draft another quarterback. And I'm saying, you do know Derek Carr had a really good year. One of his best years last year. They're like, no, we don't care. It's Derek Carr. They can upgrade. And I'm like, he's not the problem with the Vegas Raiders, though. And they're like, you say that, but they can do better. I'm like, how about you fix the damn defense? Leave Derek Carr alone. Fix the defense. And I'm looking at Brady and I'm saying, why Derek Carr? Why? Why? What did Derek Carr do to you? Why you gotta be an MFer? Why they gotta choose him over you? I mean, he's been there. He's been in the system. He's a solid quarterback. Does Brady go to Vegas and they win the Super Bowl? No, the defense was terrible. Doesn't matter. Derek Carr hasn't been the issue with the Vegas Raiders in 3 years. Yet, for the last 3 years, he's been traded 57 times. He's been drafted over 97 times. And nobody seems to respect what he's done for the Vegas Raiders. I can't explain it. Can you do better than Derek Carr? Sure. Is he close to one of the worst quarterbacks in the league? Not even remotely. He's top half of the league, not bottom half of the league. I don't understand the disdain nor the hate for Derek Carr. I'll never get it. There's some things that he does that I'm not a huge fan of, But Derek Carr is a quality NFL starting quarterback. You can win with Derek Carr. You can. Trust me. You can win with Derek Carr in this league. I've seen him go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. I know he's capable. You can win with Derek Carr. So I just find that very offensive. If Brady's talking about Derek Carr, like, it's one thing if he says that about Jimmy Garoppolo or he says it about Mitchell Trubisky. Hey, I can't defend either one of those dudes. Neither one of them are any good, really. You know, and I've been a defender of Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jimmy Garoppolo is what he is at this point. The 49ers recognize it, which is why they drafted a quarterback to replace him. But Derek Carr, no, I can't continue to sit here and allow the Derek Carr slander to go on and not say anything. You know, it's like me watching somebody get bullied, knowing it's wrong, and not stepping up and saying anything. I can't sit here and allow it anymore. Just like the Tim Tebow slander. Whether it's warranted or not, I can't sit here and allow it to continue when he's done nothing to no one. He's just trying to play ball. Derek Carr has done nothing but give the Raiders opportunities to be in the postseason. He's done his part. Remember the miracle throw late against the Jets to win that game? You know, remember the drive against the Chiefs on a Sunday night at home to give them the lead late only to watch the defense piss it away? What about the drive against the Chargers to try to win that game only to watch the defense piss it away? What about the drive? I can go on and on and on, okay? It's happened to them a million times because of that stinking ass defense. Anyway, I think it is the Raiders. I think it was Derek Carr he was referencing, and I'm like, ouch. Yikes! Zoinks! Scoob! I mean, why? Why my man Derek Carr? I don't understand. Anyway, one more piece of quarterback news before we move on. So, we talked about those big three quarterbacks in the 2018 NFL draft. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield. And how all of them are pretty much on the clock for a new contract now. That extension should be coming down the pipeline for each of those guys here shortly. Don't know in what order it's going to take place. If I had to bet and I had to guess, I'd put my money on Lamar Jackson getting his deal done first and then everybody else falling in line, because of the three guys, I think the assumption right now is Lamar Jackson is the best of those three. He's already won a league MVP. He's been in the playoffs every year of his career. So I think Lamar is going to be paid the most, and I think everybody else kind of falls in line behind him. I think Lamar's one. You've got Josh Allen too, and then I think Baker Mayfield is going to be a lot further down that line. But again, you know, I say that, and his money may be very comparable to those guys. But I wanted to bring this conversation up because we've talked about the money for these three guys. We've talked about who's going to get it done first. And there was conversation that maybe Baker Mayfield would be first. And I said the Browns would be smart to get it done. Now, here's the interesting thing about Baker Mayfield. He's had the rookie season, which was impressive. He had the second year when shit went sideways with the new head coach, Freddie Kitchens, and everything that was just messy in Cleveland that year. And he was a part of the mess. Baker Mayfield's ego got huge, started doing commercials. He started speaking out about veteran players and what they should or shouldn't do. Shit went crazy. Nobody was there to stop it. Justice was served. Freddie Kitchens was removed. They brought in a brand new head coach who was perfect for Baker Mayfield with his offense. He scaled back Baker because Baker had way too much responsibility in his second season. Too much throwing, not enough running. So they scale back the offense. They go back to the ground game. They go play for action fake off of it, which I think serves Baker Mayfield well. I think it's one of his best attributes. Their head coach wins, coach of the year, getting the Browns to the postseason, winning a playoff game. Mayfield was really good. He wasn't great. He was really good. He had his moments. That Cincinnati game on the road, it's one of his best performances of his career. He had his moments. in 2020, but he wasn't great. I was talking to a Browns fan. As a matter of fact, you guys know him. My guy, Sean Mack, massive Browns fan. And he's like, yo, I'd trade for Aaron Rodgers right now in a heartbeat. Wouldn't think twice about it. And I'm like, you know, you do have Baker Mayfield. He's like, yeah, I know. No hesitation. Like, Mayfield's cool, but he's not a guy that I would pass up an opportunity to maybe win a Super Bowl with. He's not Josh Allen. That's for damn sure. And I'm looking at him saying, you're not wrong. Mayfield was good. He was I thought he was an excellent game manager last year. But by no means has he proven that he is once and for all the guy. I think the Browns feel that way, and they should. And if you do feel that way, I implore the Cleveland Browns to get the deal done now. Now, I think what Baker Mayfield and his camp, and really I think the Browns are interested in doing this as well, is to wait to see what Lamar Jackson does, to see what Josh Allen does, what those contracts look like before they move in on Baker's contract. Because obviously he's not getting paid more than those guys. So they don't want to feel like they overspent, you know, on his deal, because they don't want to move the needle up and then force those other teams to have to well, they don't care about what those other teams do. But if they could get their Baker deal done for a significantly less amount, then they want to do that. So I think they do want to wait. I think they are interested to see what the Ravens pay Lamar, what the Bills pay Josh Allen, and then they'll move on Baker. But I caution teams with this. You know, Washington went through this with Kirk Cousins. Dallas went through that with Dak Prescott. When you got a quarterback that you believe in, and again, it gets a little murky when you get towards the end of that deal and you're not sure. If you're sure, pull the trigger. The Ravens did this with Joe Flacco. What did he do? He won the Super Bowl, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions, and one of the most historic playoff runs by a quarterback we've ever seen. And he got a monster deal, and the Ravens were never the same. If you are sure about your guy, don't wait. The price isn't going to go down. It's only going to go up. It's not going to go down. It's only going to go up. Because trust me, if the guy doesn't play well that year, you're probably not going to want him back anyway. Now, you could look at it the other way and you could say, well, it could turn into a Carson Wentz situation. They got it done early. Everybody praised them for getting it done early, and it backfired in their face. It only backfired in their face because Carson Wentz, which they knew this before they signed him to the long-term deal, was a locker room cancer. He was a divisive force in that locker room. He was getting preferential treatment from the staff. So they knew that when they signed him. It's like that happened after he got his money. They knew who they were signing, and they did it anyway. That's their fault. I've heard none of that about Baker Mayfield. Not to say that that hasn't taken place at some point, because I told you, year 2 Baker Mayfield with Freddie Kitchens as the head coach, he was out of control. He was out of control. But they reeled his ass back in. He played really well last year, and I think he's a good leader in that locker room. I think he gets along with everybody in that locker room, and you know who you have. You know what you have. If this is the guy, and they got other guys they got to pay. You know, they got to pay Nick Chubb. They know they got to pay Wyatt Teller, their guard. They know they got to pay Denzel Ward to keep him. So they're not really chomping at the bit to get Baker done, but I warn you, be careful. Because the same price that you may be thinking, and I talk about this, I bring this up because Baker Mayfield and the Browns haven't exchanged numbers yet in terms of what kind of a ballpark figure are we talking about. Nobody's exchanged numbers. Baker's camp hasn't given the Browns a number to mull over, to give a rebuttal to, and vice versa. The Browns haven't reached out to Baker's camp and say, hey, this is what we're thinking. What do you think about that? So they're both kind of playing it coy right now, and I think y'all know what it is. They're waiting on to see what Lamar Jackson and what Josh Allen does. And then everybody's going to kind of try to move off of that. So the Browns are in no hurry. They got other guys they want to take care of, but don't let this thing get more pricey than it needs to. You don't get this thing done before the season starts, and I've been reading that there's no rush to get it done, before camp or before the season starts. Baker gets off to this sizzling hot start. The Browns are 6-0 and Baker Mayfield's playing out of his mind. That number that you had in mind that you didn't give to Baker's camp before the start of the season, that shit's out the window. I don't give a damn what Josh Allen and what Lamar Jackson signed for. My guys playing at an MVP-like level, we expect to be paid as such. And if they, repeat as a playoff team this time, they win the division and they get to the AFC Championship game, do you think they're really looking to take less? You'd be a damn fool. So just be careful here. If you're Cleveland, you want to wait. You want to be patient. You want to take care of some other guys. You want to see what the Ravens and the Bills are going to do. You don't know how long it's going to take those two teams to bang out their deals for their franchise quarterbacks. You don't know how long it's going to take. You don't want to be waiting on somebody else's timeline and F around and mess up your own timeline. Lamar Jackson is going to be a Baltimore Raven. Josh Allen is going to be a Buffalo Bill. And Baker Mayfield is going to be a Cleveland Brown. I think those are foregone conclusions. The difference is Lamar Jackson has an MVP under his belt. Josh Allen played like an MVP last year and carried that Bills team. The last 2 years, they were in the postseason because of Josh Allen. And now, Baker Mayfield just went to his first postseason. He wasn't the catalyst. He was along for the ride. That's the difference between Allen, Jackson, and Mayfield, is that Jackson and Allen are the catalysts. They're the vehicles that drive their teams to wherever they're going to go. Mayfield is aided by a dominant, not a good, not a serviceable, not an average, a dominant two-headed monster run game and a fantastic offensive line, maybe the best in the league. So right now he's viewed as a really good quarterback, but not necessarily a guy you attach the team to his back and say, hey, go win us the ball game. I don't know if that's Baker Mayfield. If I'm the Browns, I don't want to find out before I pay him. I'd rather pay him now. And if he evolves into that, we can talk turkey down the road. We'll hit you on the next time. We'll hit you on the next time over. Next time we talk about contracts and numbers, we'll make up for lost time. But let's get this discount now while it's there to be got. Because if he starts to gain confidence, Odell Beckham stays healthy, some of these weapons around him start to mature, the tight ends get better, all of a sudden, Baker Mayfield's going from a good, solid game manager, a guy that, when needed to, can potentially do some good things late in ball games, to, hey, he's a stud. And he can go toe-to-toe with any quarterback in this league and put this team on his back if need be. Now you got to pay him like that. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying, in any event, I think it's an interesting situation in Cleveland. So with that said, we're going to take a quick break, get a word from one of our sponsors, and then we'll come back on the other side and get into, in case you missed it, you are dialed in to the 175th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I will see you on the other side. I want to take the time first to thank Manscaped for sponsoring the Louie T Network podcast. Summer's coming. Are you ready to unveil your beach bod? You're in luck. Our friends over at Manscaped just launched their 4th generation performance package, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Compliment your dad bod or six-pack, okay? I don't want to offend anybody out there. You're working hard, you got that six-pack. Show it off and trim with the leaders in male grooming. The sun is shining and it's calling your name, fellas. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for hot guy summer with 20% off plus free shipping by going to manscaped.com and using the promo code LouieT. Let's get to what's inside of this magnificent package. First off, the new Performance Package 4.0 includes the new Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is insane. Dare I say it's the GOAT of ball trimmers? Yeah, I just said that, okay? Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction on-off switch that can engage a travel lock and gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. Did I mention that this trimmer is also waterproof? In the shower or in the wild, from your chest pubes all the way down to your ball fro, the Lawnmower 4.0 is the best trimmer for you. Want to take your grooming game even further to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and in your ear. And I can attest to this with a massive snossage. This Weed Whacker gets the job done. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary blade dual system. This nose and ear trimmer also provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Seal the deal with Manscaped's liquid formulations. Before heading outside, use the Crop Preserver ball deodorant to keep your game in the heat. Then after trimming the lawn and whacking the weeds in the heat, give your beach balls a boost by using the Crop Reviver. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag to bring your comfort and boxers to another level. Get 20% off plus free shipping by going to manscaped.com. Promo code LouieT. That's 20% off plus free shipping by going to manscaped.com using the promo code LouieT. Escape the shrubs and weeds this summer and shine with Manscaped. Trust me when I tell you this. Your balls will thank you, and tell them your man, Louie T, sent you. Welcome back to the show. 175th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. If you are out there and you are watching this, please do me a huge solid and subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing, and also hit the like button if you haven't already done so. Almost 60 of you out there, only 16 likes. That is embarrassing. So please hit the like button if you haven't already done so. That being said, if you're out there listening to this podcast on a podcast platform, make sure that you rate and review this podcast if at all possible. That would be greatly appreciated. 5 stars, okay, and a positive rating. Looking for both of those if you can. Thank you. And also, I'm reading the comments in the comment section, and you guys are hilarious. We're gonna have this discussion about the NFL 2021 NFL All-Under-25 team. So let me first set the table by saying this. So this will be our in case you missed it. So let me set the table. In case you missed it, the NFL posted on its IG page, and they've been doing this a lot lately. They've been doing like best cornerback tandems and best running back tandems and things of that nature. Just, this is the time of year. There's nothing going on. There's no real news. So these are when you come up with these lists. These are the times where you try to spark a conversation, conjure up conversation when there's really nothing to discuss. So these are the times where you get these lists. And that's why we're having this conversation right now. They brought this up on their IG post, and they had a list of their 2021 offensive 25-year under team offensively. And I think the defensive side of the ball is going to be extreme. That's where all the real talent is in this league that's under 25. It's on the defensive side. I can't wait to see that list. And I don't know how they're going to narrow it down to just 11, or in this case, they had 12 guys on the offensive side. They put a flex player in there, which is random as hell. I just think they didn't want to leave out DK Metcalf, so they threw in a random-ass flex. This is not fantasy football. Only 11 guys on the field at once. But in any event, I can't wait to see what they do on the defensive side, because there are so many guys under 25 that it's just going to be hard to leave them off the list, but you're going to have to. You can't put everybody on the list. Anyway, offensively, it's a lot easier to make this list. And the first thing I looked at being a Washington fan, was I looked at the receivers. They got 3 of them, and none of them are named Terry McLaurin. But this is an under 25 years old list, so it made it a lot easier for them to leave a guy like Terry off. Terry's 25 years old. If you're 25 or older, you can't be on this list. So Terry McLaurin isn't eligible to be on this list. So that's the first thing. So you look at other guys that would be eligible. And so let's go through the list that they gave first, and then I'll give you some alternate options that I thought, I don't necessarily know if I would change it, but they are absolutely in the discussion, and you wouldn't be wrong if you took one of these guys over the guy that they have on the list. So the NFL's 2021 offensive all-under-25 team looks like this. Quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Running backs are Jonathan Taylor, going into his second year in the league. For the Indianapolis Colts, rushed for over 1,000 yards, rushed for over 1,100 yards, and averaged over 5 yards a pop last year for the Colts, did Jonathan Taylor. And running back Josh Jacobs going into his third year. I thought last year was a bit of a step back year. He wasn't as dominant as he was in his rookie season, but he dealt with some injuries last year for the Vegas Raiders. Those are your 2 running backs. Wide receiver, they go with 2 receivers and a flex. So no fullback, first and foremost. And they throw in a random ass flex. So A.J. Brown, Tennessee Titans wide receiver going into his 3rd season. Justin Jefferson, there are no debates there. The guy burst onto the scene last year, dominated the NFL, put up ridiculous numbers. And then DK Metcalf is the flex wide receiver going into his 3rd year. Was outstanding last season, put up some big time numbers for the Seahawks. They then go to the tight end position. They have T.J. Hockenson. Super intelligent T.J. Hockenson. Detroit Lions, tight end. Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle. No complaints there. Tristan Wirfs on the right side, offensive tackle. No complaints there. For the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Guard Mike Onwenu. And other guard Damian Lewis. Center Eric McCoy of the New Orleans Saints. So if we're going off of this concept that they came up with, all under 25 team offensively, you start at the quarterback position, and Lamar Jackson is already an MVP winner. So obviously you see why they started with him. He's been in the playoffs all 3 years of his career to this point. League MVP 2 seasons ago, or I guess it's 2 seasons now. It wasn't last year, but the year before. You understand why they picked him as their quarterback. But you got Joe Burrow. You got Justin Herbert, who was the offensive rookie of the year last year. And then you got Kyler Murray, who's also under 25 years old. All 3 of those guys. Would you take any of those guys over Lamar Jackson? I know some people that would probably take Justin Herbert after seeing what he did last year, even though it's a small sample size. Same thing with Joe Burrow. Small sample size. I know guys that would take either one of those quarterbacks over Lamar Jackson because they're thinking long-term, can Lamar get better as a passer? You don't have those questions with any of those 3 guys, really Murray included. I'm not a big Kyler Murray guy, even though I understand the talent that is Kyler Murray and what he brings to the table. I still have some questions about Kyler Murray. I do. But Herbert is interesting. Burrow is interesting. Don't know what Burrow's going to look like post-injury, but I'd like to think he'll be just fine. That's an interesting debate to have. Jackson probably still remains your quarterback, though. You go to the running back position. I find this very interesting. The disrespect for Saquon Barkley here is palpable. Yeah, he didn't play really at all last year. He played in 1 game, got hurt the 2nd game of the season, and he was done for the year. He's still better than either one of those 2 running backs, Josh Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor. How could you leave him off the list? If we're just talking about statistics, fine, say that. But if you're talking about best players under the age of 25 at the running back position, are you crazy? Saquon Barkley is better than both of those guys. I don't care which one you pick. Take one off the list and insert Saquon Barkley. Honestly, I'd take Saquon Barkley and Joe Mixon both who are under 25, over both Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs. Give me both of those dudes before I take either one of those guys. Thank you very much. Both of whom are under the age of 25. Mixon and Barkley. So, again, I think they're doing this based off of statistics. Both of those guys didn't play a ton of games last season, and so they want to reward guys that did play last year. That's cool. But if we're having a true all under 25 discussion for the offensive side of the football, Saquon Barkley and Joe Mixon belong on this list over Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs. No disrespect to either one of those backs. Taylor was excellent in his rookie season, and Josh Jacobs has been really solid in the first 2 years of his career for the Vegas Raiders. Neither one of those guys are better than Saquon Barkley and Joe Mixon. Sorry, not sorry. Now, Mixon, I believe, turns 25 next month. So maybe, just maybe, that's why they left him off the list. I don't care. He's 24 at the time of the list. Joe Mixon belongs on this list. Definitely Saquon Barkley. I digress. We move on to the receiver position. There really aren't any receivers. That's why I said they made it easy on themselves by making it an under 25 list. If they would have said 25 or under, now we got some discussions to have. But by making it an under 25 years old list, there really aren't any other receivers that are better than the three they put up here. A.J. Brown with the Titans going into his third season. Justin Jefferson with a smash home run rookie season. And DK Metcalf. So I understand. I get it. Those three being your three wide receivers. Tight end. Again, not really a lot here to squabble with when you go under 25. There aren't a lot of young up-and-coming tight ends that get you excited. So I get it. You know, I think that's about to change. Obviously, you know, with Kyle Pitts coming into the league. However, TJ Hawkinson right now would be, he's a placeholder essentially. Kyle Pitts is going to knock him out of this group like that. But for now, he's a placeholder. You know, and the same thing could be said with some of these young receivers that just came into the league. You know, we all think that Jamar Chase is going to come in and light it up, reuniting with Joe Burrow. He'll easily take out one of those three guys, more likely than not. Probably A.J. Brown, if I had to guess. Maybe DK Metcalf. You want to use him as a flex, so I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, going to the offensive line, I was the biggest Mekhi Becton fan out there. So, and he was dominant when he was healthy last year. No complaints here. Tristan Wirfs was dominant on the right side for the Buccaneers in their run to the Super Bowl. No complaints there. Mike Onwenu, for me, there's no complaints with him or Damian Lewis because, again, there aren't any real guards that, you know, under the age of 24. There might be one or two out there that I overlook. Shoot me. And then center, same thing. Eric McCoy was a guy that I loved coming out of Texas A&M. No complaints out of me. So here's where things get interesting for me. What if we made this a 25 years old or younger list? So anybody the age of 25 or younger. So we essentially extended out by a year. So they made it 24 years old or younger. What if we take the list and we make it 25 years old or younger? How does that change this list, if at all? I think it changes it significantly, which is why I think they did it the way that they did it. Because then the real debate happens if you make this 25. So, for instance, if you make this a 25-year-old list, then Lamar Jackson isn't your quarterback anymore. And it's not up for debate. Your quarterback is now Patrick Mahomes. Because he's 25 years old. So Mahomes is now your quarterback. That's not up for debate. We don't need to talk about other quarterbacks. It's Patrick Mahomes. That's your quarterback. Running back. I think it gets really interesting. I think they've got the wrong guys on the list already to begin with if we just go 24 years old or younger. But if you add in the 25-year-olds, it gets even more complicated. Because now you have Alvin Kamara, now you have Dalvin Cook, now you got Nick Chubb, now you got Christian McCaffrey. There's no way that Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs are on this list. I don't know if Saquon Barkley and Joe Mixon are even on the list if those four guys are in the discussion. Again, it's all in what your flavor is. What's your preference? All of this is subjective. Like, I'm looking at you guys going in on each other in the comment section, talking about you don't know football, this, that, and the third. Everybody has their own opinion. You like big, strong, fast? You like DK Metcalf and you like AJ Brown. You like technical receivers that can get in and out of breaks and snatch the ball out of it. And you like Terry McLaurin. Like, it's all about what your preference is. Just because someone likes one receiver and one type of receiver better than the other doesn't mean that you don't know football. That's just my preference. I like raspberry-filled donuts. You like blueberry krillers. Okay? You like those donuts? I like those kinds of donuts. Doesn't make one donut worse than the other. You just like that donut. That's all it is with these receivers. You like Calvin Johnson? I like Randy Moss, and I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying two different, totally different type of receivers. You like one? I like the other one. Okay. Doesn't mean either one of you don't know football. You just have a preference. Anyway, I digress. So you get to the receiver position, and I brought up Terry McLaurin because he's 25 years old. He would be in this discussion if you extend it out by a year. And this is a discussion I had with Washington fans just 2 weeks ago. And we were at odds because I told you if a list like this came out, this is exactly what I was referring to when I told Washington fans, if a list came out of top receivers, I guarantee you that A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf would be on the list ahead of Terry, and guys did not want to hear that. Obviously, you're homers. You're fans of Terry McLaurin, so you think it's disrespect towards your guy. That's not what it is at all. And I told you guys, it's as simple as bigger, stronger, faster. If all things are equal, which they aren't, but if all things are equal, give me the guy that's 6'3", 6'4", 230 over the guy that's 6 feet, 205. There's nothing else to talk about. Give me the bigger, stronger, faster guy. That's why everybody thought DK Metcalf would be good. I didn't think he was going to be good. Didn't think he was a route runner. All this. I was making up all these excuses of why he wouldn't be good, and he's torn the league to shreds. Why? Because he's bigger, stronger, faster. People will always go back to that as their default. Just like Tristan Wirfs. I didn't love Tristan Wirfs. You know what they said? Big, athletic freak. Give me that guy. Don't talk to me about this other guy, which is why I loved Mekhi Becton. I said, give me Mekhi Becton. Oh, he's going to eat his way out of the league. This, that. Give me the big, physical freak. This guy's running as fast as somebody that's 290, but he's 370. And he's moving men against their will. He's throwing dudes out of the club. Give me that guy. Give me that guy. I'll take him all day long, all day strong, like a leaf. Same thing with DK Metcalf. Same thing with AJ Brown. They want the bigger, stronger, faster athlete. Give me that guy over the guy that is regular. Now, he may be extraordinary in route running and this, that, and the third and run blocking. Give me the big, physical, strong freak. We'll figure it out later. So, I told Washington fans that if a list like this came up, more likely than not, AJ Brown and DK Metcalf would be ahead of Terry McLaurin. Now, I think Terry's a better overall wide receiver than AJ Brown. I do. I don't think that is the case with DK Metcalf, and I've already explained why. Now, you're going to say, DK can't run routes, this, that. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. The job of the offensive coordinator isn't to talk about what a guy can't do. It's to talk about what a guy can do and accentuate that and put him in positions to succeed. They've done that in Seattle, and he's eaten, and he's eaten good. So, I don't know, and another guy that would be on this list, or at least be in the discussion, along with Terry McLaurin, if you extend it out to 25, is Cortland Sutton. Another big physical receiver, not as fast as DK Metcalf or A.J. Brown. I think he's kind of similar in speed with A.J. Brown, but I think Justin Jefferson is firmly on this list. Don't think he's going anywhere despite extending it out a year. I think the real discussion becomes A.J. Brown and then that flex of DK Metcalf. I don't think you touch Metcalf. I think A.J. Brown is the guy you take out. That would be the guy for me that I would take out. Now, whether you decide to go Terry McLaurin, Cortland Sutton, or somebody else like that, knock yourself out. I'm a Terry McLaurin guy personally, but I know why people would go with A.J. Brown. I understand. I get it. Then you go to tight end. TJ Hawkinson. Obviously, I said this already. He's a placeholder for Kyle Pitts. He won't be on this list. If they do this list next year, I think Hawkinson will still be under the age of 25. He won't be the guy at tight end. All right. Kyle Pitts will only, if he's healthy, he'll only need 1 year to supplant TJ Hawkinson. However, if we extend this thing out for now, just having this discussion now, we extend it out to 25, then you invite 2 more names that I think are very interesting, and I think one of them would supplant TJ Hawkinson. Mike Gesicki of the Miami Dolphins and Mark Andrews of the Baltimore Ravens. To me, either one of those guys are better than TJ Hawkinson. Gesicki may not be the blocker Hawkinson is in the run game, but he's way better as a pass catcher. Andrews, for me, I think can do a little bit of both, and I think he's the more superior pass catcher. So I think I would take Mark Andrews personally. Gesicki is so intriguing because I think the upside on that dude, after watching him really start to tap into all of his talents in 2020, I think the upside on him is through the roof. And he could have a monster year. I think he could really ascend into that second tier of tight end category where you're like, hey, he ain't Kelsey or Kittle, or Waller or none of those guys. But right under them, the Hunter Henrys and all of those guys that we like to name after those first 3 tight ends, he could be in that discussion. So we'll see what happens with those, with Mike Gesicki in particular, but Mark Andrews would be the guy that I would replace TJ Hawkinson with. Andrews, for me, is a good enough blocker and a much better pass catcher than Hawkinson. And what Andrews has done in that Baltimore Ravens offense, he's been essentially Lamar Jackson's security blanket, his safety blanket. So I would go with Andrews if you extended it out to 25. I told you, I'm not touching Mekhi Becton at left tackle. Sorry, not sorry. However, if we extended it out to 25, Orlando Brown Jr. is now available to be in this discussion as one of the 2 tackles. He was a right tackle before. Now, the reason he's out of Baltimore and in Kansas City is because he said, I'm not a right tackle. I'm a left tackle. Okay, I hear you loud and clear, but he did play right tackle. And if I'm making up this list and this team, he'd be my right tackle probably over Tristan Wirfs. Now, that said, Wirfs was really good last year. Really, really good. Almost to the point where I'm like, I don't know if I take him off the list or not. I don't know if I take him off the list. One of these guards has to go. For me, it'd be Mike Onwenu. Okay? Mike Onwenu would be gone quick, fast, and in a hurry. Why? Because if you extend this out to 25, now Quentin Nelson is eligible for the list, and Q-Dog is definitely on this list. I'd go with Damian Lewis and Quentin Nelson as my 2 guards. And then center, if you extend it out to 25, Eric McCoy right now is in the lead. But if you extend it out to 25, then you allow Frank Ragnow, who just got an extension from the Detroit Lions for good reason because he's dominant, would then come into the discussion. I think he would replace Eric McCoy on this list of best players 25 years or younger in the league offensively. So I think that's when things get interesting, is if you add 25 into the mix. But when you take it out, I think they pretty much got this list correct. I think the biggest question mark, though, with what they've done is running back. I don't agree with their running back position. Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley have to be on this list, I believe. Or if at minimum Saquon Barkley does. You want to leave Joe Mixon off? Sure, knock yourself out. I wouldn't advise you to do that. But, and I think you could have a debate. There could be a healthy discussion about quarterback because Murray, Burrow, and Herbert are all under 25 years old. And so I could see someone saying long term, in the short term, give me Lamar Jackson. But long term, I'm starting a team. I got to take one of these quarterbacks. Give me Justin Herbert. Or give me Kyler Murray. Or give me Joe Burrow. I could see somebody saying that over Lamar Jackson. So I think that this is a really cool list that they came up with. I don't agree with all of it, but that's why they come up with these lists, to create conversation. I love these types of lists because everyone's got their own opinions. I have mine, you have yours. You guys are arguing left and right in the comment section. I love it. And that's how it should be. But if this thing were extended out to 25, that's when it would get really, really interesting. What says you out there? You guys are out there really going at it. What says you out there? Leave it in the comment section of this video. I'd love to read your comments. So with that said, let's wrap this show up with garbage time. And I want to talk about a quick update on the Deshaun Jackson situation. So I was reading an article. I'm going to read pieces of this article to you guys. So I was reading the article, and it talked about Deshaun Watson. And, you know, there's still fans out there that want to trade for Watson. They don't know, oh, he's innocent, this, that. Okay, well, all that stuff has to play itself out first. You know, he might not have done anything wrong. You know, all these females may have been complicit in everything that went down. We don't know. It's not for us to decide. It's for a court of law to decide. And the NFL is also going to wait to see what happens. And this article makes some really good points. And I want you guys to understand it. This man could not play football. Deshaun Watson we're talking about. He could not play football for 2 whole seasons. Listen to this article. All right. So this is from an article written on Mile High Huddle. It's a Fan Nation. It's a Fan Nation site. You know, Fan Nation is a subsidiary of SI. You know, Sports Illustrated owns Fansided, and every team's got their own entity. This is the Broncos one. Listen to what they wrote here. So this is a part of their article. I'm going to give you a little excerpt of this article. So it says, NFL insider John Clayton of 104.3 The Fan recently brought to light a plausible scenario in which Watson doesn't see a football field again till 2023. Not next season, which is 2022, okay? But following year, 2023. So he misses all of the upcoming season, which I think we all can agree more likely than not is going to take place. He could then miss the next year after that, 2022 season, and not play until 2023. Clayton echoed Fox Sports' radio's Ben Mahler, who raised the argument that the 25-year-old is at the mercy of the justice system with a merciless but legitimate outcome on the table. Quote, as has been reported, Watson won't be deposed until February 22nd, 2022. The court system his systems in Houston are so slow that the next step won't happen until right after the Super Bowl. Clayton, that's a close quote from Clayton. He said, Mahler projects that trials won't start until May of 2022. Even though Watson could try to look to settle the cases, his attorney said already, and he's been adamant about this, that they won't settle, that won't happen. They will not settle because settling is almost an admission of guilt. Like there is some culpability here. If we settle out of court, some guys may not be guilty, but they decide to settle because they want it to go away. But it makes you look guilty when you do that. And Watson wants no part of this tarnishing his image and his name. So if you really want to say that I had nothing to do with this, then you fight this thing all the way to the bitter end and you don't settle. So if what his attorney has been saying all along, which is we're not settling, then these cases could go through June and July of the next year. Okay. Mahler points out that the NFL usually doesn't go back and utilize time served, as if you're in, prison already waiting for your trial, and then you get sentenced 5 years and you've already served 2 years. Well, they'll give you time served, so you'll only have 3 years left. That's not how the NFL operates, okay? He says when it comes to suspensions, the NFL does not have a timed served mechanism, okay? So if Watson is found guilty next year, after the start of camp, the league could suspend him into 2023. Wow. He says, here's the important part. Watson could go on the commissioner's list, exempt list, this season, but he will receive his full salary. He's scheduled to make $10.5 million this year, and he gets paid for each game he's on the exempt list. The Texans could fine him for missing training camp, but they can't void the guarantees until his contract, until he gets a ruling. And if that doesn't happen next July, he will effectively be on paid leave. He says, Clayton added, it's unlikely the Broncos or any other team makes a play for Watson in the event he lands on the commissioner's exempt list, and that very little will crystallize in the immediate future. So essentially what that article is saying is that the likelihood that Deshaun Watson gets any kind of real concrete answers from the court system won't take place until after this year's Super Bowl. Okay, so after the entire 2021 season takes place, and then the Super Bowl is over, that's when he's going to be deposed in February of 2022. So the likelihood is his trial won't get started till sometime in 2022. And in that article, Mahler says in May of 2022, more likely than not. It's going to take some time for those proceedings, all the different, and there are so many different defendants, plaintiffs in this case. You know, the accusers are a list long. We got up to 25 before they stopped, or some crazy number. I stopped counting after a while. So if all of them have a chance to speak, if they're all called to the stand, this thing could drag out until June, July, and then you get a verdict. And if that verdict comes back that he is somewhat culpable, not necessarily guilty of the most brutal charges, not guilty of the bigger charges, but if he is found guilty of even the least amount of charges, the lesser of them, the NFL is still going to slap him on the wrist, and it may include him not playing 2022. So trading for Deshaun Watson right now is nearly impossible. One, the Texans still haven't, come to grips with the fact that they want to move him. But even if they had, who's going to trade for a guy that may not play, not only this season, I think it's a foregone conclusion, he's not playing this year, but won't play next year either, more likely than not. That's on the table. Won't play in 2021, may not even play in 2022. Who's trading for that guy? That's hard to do. Then you're on the hook for that salary now. Not the Texans. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's trading to pay a guy to not play. So that is a sticky situation that Deshaun Watson finds himself in. I don't know when resolution is going to come, but that's the first time I heard that, hey, you could not see this dude for 2 whole seasons. I was just thinking, yeah, he'll miss this upcoming season. There'll be resolution to this thing sometime in 2022. It'll be before the start of camp. And whatever the league decides, more likely than not, it's not going to be a whole year ban. Well, we don't know that. And we don't know how long it's going to take. They get into the season. Let's say they don't come up with a verdict on this thing until mid-September. Well, the season's already gotten started. He's already missed the first 3 or 4 games of the season. And now they said, well, we're going to suspend him 8 games. Well, he's pretty much missed the whole season. He might not be eligible till week 13 or 14. If I'm him, I don't want to play football. And if I'm the Texans, I'm not putting him out there at that point. I'm not risking injury, especially if we stink. And he hasn't been playing this whole time. So this guy could essentially miss 2 whole seasons. That's amazing. That is amazing. But in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me on the 175th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. That was fun. A lot of discussion in the comment section. If you guys are out there, I got a super chat here from my guy, Kevin, the PRF. Thank you for the super chat, Kevin, the PRF. My guy, Kev, writes, not saying anyone should, but why not as a GM trade for Watson so you can offer high risk, low reward compensation? So here's the issue with that. What if he is found guilty? You trade for him, right? And he is found guilty. Now, then you get into a situation where you're going to want your money back. And, you can then try to go after his money. But do you want that headache? Do you want to be the team that's responsible for doing that? How does that look on your team? The image that puts off on your fan base that you were willing to go and trade for a guy that is being accused of sexual assault or misconduct of over 20 women. How does that look for your organization, your fan base? In this environment that we've cultivated, the Me Too era and equality for all and all these different things that are going on right now, would that be the smartest move for any NFL owner to make? To go out and get a guy that nobody wants to touch with a 10-foot pole, his endorsement deals, all of those people that were backing him some 4 months ago, they've all gone by the wayside. You want to be the team that jumps out in front of this thing and says, you know what? We're going to stand by you, Deshaun. Especially if you don't know all the facts. If I'm the Texans, I don't want him gone. I'm trying to convey to him that, hey, I stood by you when all of this was going on. We're here. We want you back. If you really want to still try to make a last-ditch effort to keep him, if he's already made up his mind and there's no way that he wants to come back to the Texans and there's nothing you can do, then sure, you should be looking for a trade partner right now. But nobody's going to bite the bait right now. Nobody's looking to take on Deshaun Watson's contract. And even though it's a very advantageous contract, the way that it's set up right now, nobody's looking to take on that. Pay this guy money. He may be on the commissioner's exempt list. So you still got to pay him even though he's not playing? He's essentially on paid leave? No team is signing up for that. They can spend $10 million in a multitude of ways not paying a guy to sit on the bench and not play. So I don't see any other team diving in to try and get Deshaun Watson while the Texans may be selling low. Because there's too much risk involved for your organization to do it that way. So I understand where you're coming from. And if there were other ways to go about this, and there were and maybe the charges were a lot less severe. If we're talking about something else, yeah, maybe you're talking about some DUIs or something along those lines. Yeah, maybe you're able to get past that stuff. But that's not what we're talking about here. So I don't see anybody thinking that that's a good idea with the current climate that we're in. It really doesn't matter what climate you're in. If a guy's being accused of sexual assault and misconduct, like nobody wants to be associated with that. No team is going to trade for a guy that's right now going to have to stand trial for 25 counts of sexual misconduct or sexual assault. I don't see how that benefits your organization. On the field, sure. If he ever gets back on the field. Off the field, it's a media nightmare. It's a firestorm you don't want any parts of. So, thank you for that super chat, Kevin, the PRF. One more time before we get out of here. If you haven't already done so, please do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And hit that like button if you are currently watching. Over 70 of you out there. Only 43 likes. Come on now. Got to get it up to 50 before we get out of here. That's mandatory. So if you haven't already hit the like button, please do your man Louie T a huge solid and hit the like button for this video. Thank you for the super chat, Kevin, the PRF. Thank you to all of my mods out there holding me down. Really do appreciate all that you do for the Louie T Network. What up, Bill? I see you. And thank you for reaching out. Look, if you guys are out there and you are a part of the Mob Squad, stand up. We in the building. All right, we always in the building. Get your Mob Squad merch. It's on pre-order right now. Get it while supplies last. I don't want you to miss out. Some of you missed out on the Ron's Plan merch. And you're hitting me out like, man, I missed out on Ron's Plan. Well, this is your opportunity to get some get back. Don't miss out on this opportunity to be down with the Mob Squad. If you're already a member, get the merch to solidify your membership. If you're not a member, what are you waiting on? Become a member of the Mob Squad. Link is down in the description of this and every single video that I do. Become a member of the Mob Squad and hold us down. So with that said, get all of your affairs in order because we're getting close to the NFL season. I'm trying to get all my affairs in order. I'm going to let you know right now, only 2 episodes of the pod this week. Monday, which is today, and Wednesday. No Friday episode. Going to get out of here early, get my weekend started. We got a lot of things going on. I got caught. You know what? I'll save that for the next episode. Remind me to tell you guys about my Friday, not this last Friday, but the Friday before. I'm going to tell you all about that. I think I've already did. I might have already told you guys about it. I may not have. Remind me to tell you about it on Wednesday. If you're there on Wednesday, we'll talk about it. Social media maneuvers anyway. So we'll be talking about everything under the sun on Wednesday's show. So hopefully I won't forget to talk about it. But I've talked enough. You guys get out of here. If you haven't already done so, do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the Card Collector series over on my other channel. Trying to get to 1,000 subs over there. You guys have been spectacular in supporting your man Louie T. I really do appreciate all of you guys going over there and subbing up. But look, there are over 18,000 subs on this channel. I shouldn't have an issue getting to 1,000 on my other channel if I'm begging you guys to just go over there and sub up. So, and I'm not talking to the core subscribers, the guys that watch this podcast, watch everything that I put. You've already done your due diligence. You've already done what you needed to do to help me out, and I really do appreciate you. I'm talking about all those other people that are watching these shows, hear me begging and pleading and like, I ain't doing it, and keep it pushing. Help me out. Help me. Help me. I'm begging. Link is down in the description of this video as well. In any event, I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Have a good one.
LouieTeeNetwork.